this is Dee. She's going to be my model for the day. So you're probably going to be seeing her face a whole lot more than you're going to be seeing mine. We're just going to kind of go through some theater basics. We can get into some deeper stuff in future sessions if we like to, but we're just going to kind of cover the bases, what you need in order to get yourself ready for hitting the stage, making sure that your face is ready for all those lights and for the sweat that comes with it and all the fun things that go with it. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and you can type them into the comments. Gigi will be helping me to moderate those. We want to kind of keep moving because we don't have a whole lot of time, but we're gonna just try to cover as much as we possibly can. So let's get this party started. First of all, like I said, this is Dee. She's our model. I asked Dee to wash her face beforehand. What's really important is before you even start, you need to have a basic ready to work with canvas. Dee has already washed her face and she's put moisturizer on because it's really important that we moisturize our face every time we wash our face, because when we wash our face, we strip out all those essential oils. We need to bring some of that back. So her face is really nice and clean and dry and moisturized, and we're ready to go ahead and start putting stuff on. A lot of people, when they're doing their makeup for theater, I think it's really important that we use the right kinds of products when you're hitting the stage. The regular street makeup that we have is really great for street makeup and for special events and doing things out from day to day, going to work or going out somewhere special at night. But in theater, you need to have makeup that's actually really highly pigmented in order so that you get the opacity that actually covers your skin properly. So some of the products that I like to use, I'm a big fan of Ben Nye. Ben Nye is an age-old theater makeup producer, and they have tons of colors to choose from. This one here is the Matte HD foundation, which is really, really great for hitting the stage. They also have a stick foundation. They have cake bases. They have other types of cream bases, but this one is the one that's my favorite. You can actually get, for your basic theater essentials, you can actually get a makeup kit on Amazon for about 20 bucks. And that kit usually has it has a foundation that they have 8 different kinds to choose from. It also comes with a color wheel. It's called a character wheel. And actually, let's see if I can get that. Can you see? Is it maybe, I don't know. Oh, maybe there you go. Perfect. Super. Okay. So this one is, it's an old character wheel, but actually because it's got the highlight and shadow, and it also has like a lip color and then a darker color that you can bring in some deeper tones with. The makeup kit usually comes with a little powder puff like this, and it usually comes with a couple of sponges. This one is just a bigger pack of sponges than you normally get, but you'll get a couple of sponges as well. It also comes with a stipple sponge. Let's see, do I have one of those on hand? I do. It also comes with a stipple sponge. So in the event that you need to do some capillary stipple or you need to make beard stipple, this is a great little tool to use for that. It also comes with powder. It comes with a little tiny one of these, but this is the neutral set powder from Ben Nye. I use this every time I do makeup. I always use this to set my face. Something that you should probably look into if you're, let's see, where am I at? Oh, something else that you can look into if you are wearing a lot of makeup that has a lot of pigment, like a different color. Like when we do Shrek, we have to do green as his base. We usually do some Derma Shield. This helps protect the skin. It provides a barrier in between your skin and the actual makeup, so that way it doesn't seep into the pores quite as deeply. And that way when you clean your face later, you're not left with a green tint on your skin. So I'm gonna put a little bit of that on Dee right now. And honestly, when you do this, you only need just a teeny tiny little bit, just like a golf ball size. And you can see it like puffs up real fast because it's like a mousse. And just massage that right into the face. Now, this is something that not everybody does. I like to do it because I like to do it for my actors. Because again, at the end of the night, you want to go home. You don't want to be dealing with all the extra stuff that comes with it. This barrier is really great to protect the skin. It's also good for your hands too, because I've got a little bit on my hands now. I'm gonna rub that in so that my hands don't get damaged and greasy either. And if we're gonna go further down the neck, then obviously you can apply further down the neck. Okay, so what's important is obviously you wanna start with a foundation. You wanna match a color, turn this way for me. You wanna match to right about here when you're matching your color foundation. I have a palette here of all the colors that Denice makes in those teeny tiny little palettes. And you can find what you can actually take it out, put it on your skin, see which one it matches. Go out in natural light and then look at a really bright light to find out what matches your skin. When you're doing theater makeup, you want to do something that's just a little bit darker than your natural tone because those lights really do wash you out. Wow, is that a doorbell? All right. Let's see. All right, so we're going to apply foundation. I like to do, you can do your foundation in multiple kinds of ways. You can use a sponge to apply your foundation. You can use a brush. I like these nice flat brushes from Delium brushes. This is a really nice paddle brush. It's got really soft bristles. You can do that, or you can use a larger brush that's the dual bristle brush. It's just preference. What do you like? What do you want to do? Some people just want to use their fingers. I have nothing against using your fingers to actually apply foundation, as long as you're only dipping from your own foundation and not using somebody else's. So in this case, let's see here. I'll just move it over here. All right, so in this case, I'm going to warm up. I'm actually taking the color and warming it up on the back of my hand just a little bit. And I'm going to apply it just kind of in dots. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with the sponge to even things out. I like to work from the top down. I feel like that we use gravity in our favor. And you can see that I'm just kind of like smoothing it out. I kind of pick up and then move it around the face. So it's not just like in these big globs everywhere. I'm just kind of using like a stipple motion. This is when you're actually tapping like that, that's called a stipple motion. I just want to apply that foundation evenly throughout the face. I'm just kind of picking up and moving it around. And if you need a little more, go back in for a little more. Make sure that when you're doing, your foundation, that you're going all the way back to your jawline, pulling it down beyond the jawline into the neck so that you blend it out. If you're doing a different color, if you're changing the entire color of your face, don't forget to do your ears, kind of important. I'm gonna bring that up onto our ear just a little bit. And then bring that down. Okay, let me get a little bit more here. So yeah, we're just kind of going in and we're just kind of pressing the foundation into her skin, evening out her skin tone. And Gigi, feel free to let me know if I'm talking to camera, because I'm trying to be mindful of what you guys are seeing and not just the back of my head.
You're doing a great job.
All right, let me know if I need to move. I'm happy to do it. And basically what you're doing when you're putting on your foundation, whether this is male or female, what we're doing is we're just trying to give yourself a canvas, a bare canvas to start with, so that way you can build up the highlights and shade however you need to. So we're giving ourselves just a nice, even canvas to start with. Just take any of that redness or imperfections or anything that you have personal concerns about. Like I have a little spot right here on my eye that I'm always really concerned about covering, so I make sure that that is always addressed. Back up into the ear a little bit, and down forward to the neck. Also, something that's important is that remember that everybody has hair everywhere, so especially on your face. So when you're doing your foundation, try not to go up against the grain of hair that normally lays right. It's all that baby fine hair. Go with it, and that will actually make everything nice and smooth. We're gonna pull down here. Nice. Hitting that top of that ear is important. Just pull it here. Turn towards me. Also, you want to do just a little bit over the top of the eyelids. You can use that kind of as a primer. There's a lot of people who do makeup on the regular who use primer as a base for their makeup. Totally fine. That is absolutely an acceptable thing to do. I like to use just a little bit of my foundation to be my primer. Make sure you get underneath the nostrils as well. That is usually a common telltale that somebody hasn't finished their foundation completely. They forget places like their nose and underneath their lip. There you go. Great. So we've got a nice even canvas to start with. So the next thing that we're going to do, what is most commonly needed to be done, especially with males, a lot of folks are like, hey, I'm a guy, what do I need makeup? Well, you need makeup because you're going to get washed out. What we're trying to do is we're trying to accomplish some higher contrast so that people can see you at least 50 feet away. Now on a stage, if you're in the middle of the stage, that's already at least 20 feet. And then you've got the orchestra that's another 10 feet or so, if not more. That's 30 feet from the front row. So you want to be able to see at least a few rows beyond that. We want to see your facial expression. So that's why we do highlight and shade, which is typically all meshed into contour. Now we could talk about contour for days. Kardashians really made a big thing about it 10 years ago. We're still seeing people with really overdone contour in daily wear. The stuff that you see sometimes is not for daily wear. I shouldn't be able to see shadows on your face when I'm walking by you. However, in theater, you can go a little bit darker because, again, we're trying to show that show the contrast between the highlight and shadow from further away. So we're going to be able to get into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my character wheel. This is the Ben Nye one. And you see that we have a couple of different colors here. So we have the darker one, which is a brown, and we have the lighter one, which is like a cream color. I highly recommend if you're gonna do colors, try to stay on the cooler sides of the browns and the warmer sides of the lighter cream colors. In natural light, our shadows are not warm. A lot of people use bronzer in order to do their contour. It's not really a good idea because that's too warm. You're warming up your face at that point. The shadows are actually what's in the shade. So think about shade. I'm getting cooler tones for your browns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop a little bit of this out. And I'm going to use a brush. Now, there's a lot of people who are wanting, do I use cream? Do I use powder? Personal preference. I personally like to use the creams because, again, they're part of stage. These are created specifically for stage. This makeup is made to last and withstand underneath the heat, and it's highly pigmented. So I personally like to use the creams, and I like to apply them with brush. Some people would rather use a sponge or their fingers, but I'm going to go with the brush because I feel like I have more control with the brush. Just an FYI, the brushes I'm using today are from Bedelium. It's Delium Tools. The B is silent. These are affordable. They're made out of, I think they're made out of bamboo. If these aren't bamboo, then they have a bamboo line. Either way, they're relatively affordable. The brushes are really soft. They're super durable, and I can see them a mile away because they're yellow. So I'm going to start with highlight because highlight is easier to apply. And when you do it first, if you do the dark, if you do the shade first, then you can't correct it as easily as you can correct if you're doing light first. So I always start with light first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on Dee's left side, her right side, my left, and I'm going to do it with cream. So I'm going to come over here, and what you want to do is you want to hit all the places on the face that light is naturally going to occur. So those places are typically, I mean, most people think right off the bat, what do you think of when right up here? Cheekbone. Cheekbone. Like right up there. Right. That's the #1 place that everybody thinks of. So let's do that. We're going to dip into this. And basically, I'm just going to go lightly, kind of in a line right along the top of her cheekbone. And I'm actually going to take a little bit off and kind of dry brush. And I'm just going to blend that out. So we're going just right along the top. And I'm going to kind of bring it up into her temple just a little bit. And it's almost kind of like in a V shape. So it's going to taper down here towards the cheekbone, and then it's going to widen up as we hit the top of the cheekbone into the temple. Okay. The other place, what's the next place you think of? Yep. P.S. by the way, Dee is not a makeup artist. She just happens to be a fan of makeup. So I'm asking her questions because I feel like they'd be questions you guys would ask too. So we're going to go at the top of the bridge of the nose. And I'm just going to lightly place some color there. And I wipe off the excess, and then I just kind of dry brush in order to blend it out.
We have fielded a question from the chat. Daniela wants to know that just to confirm, you're using a highlighter right now, correct?
Yes, I'm using the highlighter, pardon me. Yes, I'm using the lighter color of the two that I just placed on my hands. All right, so like I said, just dipping right in. So another place that would be a highlighted place, where would you think? Here?
Right in the lip and up in this area?
Yep, absolutely. So we're gonna do just right, we're gonna go underneath the lip, we're gonna do a little bit here on the chin. We don't wanna do too much because I don't want it to look like a big rounded bulbous chin, but you do wanna hit that with a little bit of highlight, okay? So I try to bring it down a little, and I actually just tap it in with my fingers sometimes. Like I said, I kind of go back and forth between using brushes and using my fingers because I can't help it. I'm a makeup artist, really too. All right, just keep going. All right. I'm also going to do right here above the lip, just a little bit on that cupid's bow. We're going to do a little bit up here, just in the center of the forehead. And as I'm blending, I'm actually blending it down. So that you can see that it's pulling a little bit of, you can see a little bit of depth perception from the line of her hairline, and her brow. Okay, how else would I do right here at the bridge of the nose? Now, I just finished doing, before all of this fun stuff started, we just finished doing Kinky Boots, and I did Lola's makeup. And doing highlight and shade for drag makeup is huge. It really makes a big difference in the way the face looks, the shape of the face looks, and drawing out the femininity of Cornelius' face. I don't know if anybody got to see that show, but it was super fun to look at. All right, so another place that we're going to do you have any other ideas of where we would fit highlight? Here, 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 and here. That's the only places that I know. Okay, there's one more spot that's actually really helpful. Can we turn that right for me? Right here at the top of the jawline. Okay, I'm just going to give you a nice contrast because we're going to go in and do shade right here underneath. So doing that is going to give us a really nice contrast, and this is also a place where you can define your jawline a little bit more. I don't know if you know this about me, but to me, it's a little bit bigger of a woman. If I wanted to define my jawline, I would cut it a little harder when I do my shade. So that's what I'm going to do with the highlight here. I'm going to give that a place. I'm already kind of drawing out the line of where I want to cut that jawline a little sharper. If you end up having a costume that's lower, kind of like the way these is, you can actually go in and you can highlight and contour, highlight and shade and do contour on the rest of the area of the chest. I'm gonna just kind of briefly touch on this. I'm not gonna go full force. We don't have all that kind of time. But you can also highlight here where the collarbone is. You can actually just take a little bit of that, touch into it. You can actually do a little bit on the neck as well. Just gonna do on this side. You see I'm going really light, and I mean, it doesn't really read as much on the camera as it would normally, but so I'm gonna probably just go a little bit darker just so that you can see more. That's a lot. And also, sponges are your friend because you can go back and lift off color if you need to, like I just did. All right, so we've got highlight on this side. And actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stay on one side so that way you can see the contrast of what it looks like with highlight and shade on one side versus the other. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with a different brush. And also it's really important, I feel, a lot of people don't do this, is that when you're changing colors, use a different brush. If you don't have a bunch of brushes, then clean your brush in between. And I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so we're gonna go back in, we're gonna do the shade. So I'm just going in with this brown color here, which I've already dealt out right here. Okay, so each one of these highlights is gonna have a shadow. So we're gonna go and we're gonna start with the cheekbone because that's where we started. So we go right underneath it. So your cheekbone, if you feel on your face, your cheekbone is actually, it's a bone, obviously. You wanna go above your cheekbone and below your cheekbone. You don't necessarily go right on top of it because that's where you're gonna put your blush. So I'm gonna go underneath. Take off some of that product. And I'm gonna pull it down. So you're gonna have a harder edge at your cheekbone. So if you can see that I'm just kind of using like a circular light motion to pull that down. And I like to go in and, like I said, I like to remove some of the product off of my brush so I can pull it down and dry brush. Okay. Next place we're gonna go just here a little bit in the temple. I don't want to go too much. I don't mean to make it crazy. We're basically following the shape of her face. Right here in her temple, that's always a little bit of a dip. So I'm just gonna go in there. And while I'm over here, I'm gonna get to that jaw and just draw a line of where I want that jaw to be now. And hopefully you've got a very defined jaw. And you can see that even though I'm using a fluffy brush, there are different sides of it. So the flatter side, you can apply more product. And if you turn it on its side, so it's a little bit thinner, you can actually use that to draw a little bit more precise line. Obviously, if I want a precise line, I'm going to change the brush, but to a different brush. But this is the one that I'm using now, so I'm just going to use that to define that line. And then with the flat side down, just kind of pull that down into the face forward. All right, so you can already see now that we have a little bit of highlight and a little bit of shade, you can see the difference of how her face looks even from here. It already defines her a lot. You can also take a little bit of your contour shade, your shadow shade to contour into just a little bit up near the hairline. You don't want to go crazy or anything. We just want to do a little bit just so that we get a little bit of that depth. Just very lightly along the edges. And you can kind of pull that in so that it marries. We can also do it right down the sides of the nose. So I'm going with a little bit of color. And then go here. I like to start at the top and work my way down. Something that is a very common thing that a lot of people don't realize when they're doing contour on their nose. It's important that you start here at the center of the eyebrow and work your way to the nose here, not down here. A lot of people, actually, turn your face this way. A lot of people, when they first start doing contour on the nose, they get it wrong because they're going, the line is here to here. That's not where we want to go. That means makes your nose actually look wider. So instead, we're going to follow it right along to the tip of the nose, and that's where you draw your contour. And you can see I'm going really light. I don't want to make it too defined because, again, I don't necessarily want to see like these big crazy lines. I want to see a soft contrast so that it gives the nose a much more defined shape. And that's the other reason why I like using kind of a fluffy brush, is because you can really like feather it out to exactly where you want it. So I'm gonna put a little more. And it also doesn't hurt to layer. You can start out really light. If you want to go darker, go darker. Don't start with a really heavy hand. Start light, and then you can work your way out so that it gets darker. And then I'm just going to go back here on the other side of the nostril, just to define that a little bit. Okay. All right. One of the other places that I personally like to highlight, or to shadow, I should say, not highlight, shadow, is right here at the corner of the mouth. Just a teeny tiny little bit, just to show that depth. Okay, and then you go right here underneath the nose, and again, show a little bit of depth. And then depending on if you're doing a character that requires the smile lines to be emphasized, if you want to do that, then you can go right underneath that smile line. Just, I do it very lightly, if at all, especially on just a regular look. If I'm trying to age somebody, then I'm really gonna go in there and do some very defined lines. But just lightly bring that out. Okay. All right, you can see yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Can you see the difference? I can. Yeah, awesome. All right, so those are some of the very basic things that you're gonna do for theater makeup, especially guys. A lot of guys ask me again, why am I doing this? Again, we're just trying to give you some highlight and contrast, or some contrast with the highlight and shade so that we can see you from farther away. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna add a little bit of color to your face. And so that's what this wheel is really great for, is you can use this shade, this, you see it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a reddish melon kind of shade, and I actually really, really like it because I can use it for both cheek and lip, even on guys. So I'm gonna cut out a little bit of that. And for the cheek, I actually really like using my finger on the cheek because again, what happens is when your fingers actually have warmth to them, and this is a wax-based product. So when you use the back of your hand to apply the product first, and then you can work your fingers into it, it warms it up a little bit so that it's a little easier to manipulate. So what I like to do, and a lot of people are like, what? When we first start this, it looks really crazy at first, but because it's like, well, maybe this doesn't look that crazy, I don't know. But when we put the cheek color on, I like to start kind of like in a circle and then use that same tapping motion and just draw it back. So I'm bringing it here to the apples of the cheek, and then I'm going up the cheekbone. So I'm placing it in between the highlight and the shade. So there's actually room for all three. Something else, a little tip that I will tell you is that when you're working on someone or when you're working on yourself, use one finger, maybe two at a time, because otherwise you're gonna have like all these crazy fingers. You don't want both of your hands to have product all over them. So if you need to grab something, you don't wanna be making everything red or making everything green or whatever. So just use like one or two and then wash your hands so that way you're not transferring product all over the place. So yeah, I'm just working that color in, and if I wanted to make it deeper, then I just go back, layer back in, add some more. I feel like I really want to give you a nice flush cheek. It's warm outside, let's reflect that. Holy cow, you guys, it was like 91 degrees today over in Downey. All right, so we've got a nice flush pink cheek. And then the next thing we can do is we can take that same color and we can add it to the lip. So here's something else. When you're doing your lips, it's better if your lips are dry before you apply makeup. So don't lick your lips before you put on your lipstick. Did you just do that?
I did.
Common mistake. A lot of times when I have people in my chair, I'm like, okay, we're gonna do your lips. And they're like, okay. Apply lip balm before you get started, and that way your lips are already taken care of on that level. But yeah, a nice dry neutral lip is the best way to get your product on. And again, I just kind of go in and I dab it on. Again, this is very, very basic in color and in design. Obviously, when we're, you know, if you're going to be in something that requires you to be like a dancer or something that's, you know, a little bit more zhuzhy, very female, we're going to go with darker colors. But this is the basic kit, so I just kind of want to work from this. I think the next time we go, we'll do some stuff that's a little bit more advanced. But this color is a great color just to get you set up. Okay. The other thing we want to do, so now that we've done lips and we've done cheeks, and actually if you need to go back and correct a little bit, use your sponge. Yeah, use your sponge as your friend. The next thing we want to do is, actually let's go ahead and powder. Because what's important is, actually I'm going to touch that up a little bit. In order to make sure that your makeup sets so that you're not sweating it off during a show, powder is necessary. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the little powder puff that comes with the kit. And we're gonna dip it into the powder. Can I have you hold this for a second? I just poured a little bit of powder into a little container. I personally like to work from this rather than working from the big, huge container. So I'm taking my fresh puff, putting it into the powder, and you'll see, I don't know if you can see or not, but you see how I've got the powder it's sitting on the surface? Well, that's all great because if I wanted to actually make look like powder on her face, then I would just press it onto her face right now. But I don't want to. I want to use a little bit of powder so we go and seal everything. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your powder puff, you're gonna fold it in half like a taco, and you're gonna rub it together, okay? These powder puffs are made out of a velvet / velour fabric. I'm not sure exactly which one these are, but it's very, very porous. And so what you're doing is you're taking the powder that was sitting on top and you're putting it inside the puff. Okay, so now the powder is mostly inside the puff, still a little bit sitting on top, but for time, I'm just gonna keep going.
It looks like a beignet.
Ooh, beignets.
I miss Disney.
Yeah. I'm missing Disneyland right about now. Beignets. So anyway, we push the powder now inside the puff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lightly bounce the powder puff against her skin, and that's gonna take the powder from inside the puff and put it onto her skin. And so we're tapping and bouncing that onto her skin. And if you don't see the powder, that's okay, because it's translucent powder. This isn't actually white powder, it's translucent. When it's inside it, it has a white look to it because it's all together. But the point of this is so that it soaks up sweat, it sets your makeup, it sets against the wax in the makeup. Anything that's, in order to set your makeup, you need to remember two things, wet and dry. If you've used a wet foundation or a cream or a liquid, you want to set it with powder. If you use powder, powder products, like if you used a powder foundation or you use powder blush, then you want to use something wet to set that. So remember, wet sets dry, dry sets wet. We're actually gonna do 3 layers today because I started with the wet products. We're doing the dry here. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more. I'm gonna do your lips. Okay. When I'm doing somebody's lips, I usually tell them to blow out gently. And the reason being is I don't want them to suck up the powder. And secondly, it helps me keep the powder from going into the mouth. So blow out gently. It's pretty much the same thing I think I'd say. It's not too much, it's just one. It also gives them something to think about, because when people get a little freaked out sometimes when you're working around their mouth or their nose, if you tell them to do something, then they're a little less freaked out about it. Okay. So once you put the powder on, there's going to be a little bit of excess. So I like to get a big fluffy brush, like this one. And I just like to dust it off. And again, I'm going to start at the top. And the reason we're starting at the top, gravity. Gravity is a thing. If I start at the bottom and go back up, then I'm just going to work all that powder back off. So we're going to start here and gently just pat down. Blow out gently. Awesome. All right. So now we have addressed the basic parts of the face. Something else that's really important to do, eyebrows. I like doing my eyebrows. It's my thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with an angle brush. And let's see, just a moment. I'm using this palette that I really love. It's from Senna. Senna's been around for a really long time, and they have really cornered the market on brow colors. And they have everything that you need in order to create a really beautiful brow.
Denise, can you hold that up closer to the camera? How is that how is that spelled?
Senna, S-E-N-N-A.
E-N-N-A. I've got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is just their regular multicolor palette. And as you can see, lots of different colors. So I'm gonna go in here, and because their colors are so pigmented, I'm gonna go in with this like lighter brown. And I use an angle brush. This one is the number 763 from Delium. And I'm just gonna define her brows. And I personally like to start from the center and then work my way out. Something is really important to know about your brows. They are sisters, they are not twins. Your brows will never be the same. Nobody's face shape is completely symmetrical on both sides. So if you're trying to get that perfect brow every single time and trying to get them to match, I guarantee they probably won't. It's okay if they're a little bit off. It's the same thing with wing liner. A lot of people are just like, oh my gosh, do we talk about this?
Yes.
Yeah, wing liner is really hard to get completely accurate on both sides. Cut yourself some slack. It's never gonna be perfect. Can't be. All right, so I like to go at the bottom of the brow and lightly, if you see I'm doing little small strokes. You don't have to do everything in one full swoop. You can start at the bottom of the brow to determine where the shape is gonna live. And these little strokes. And sometimes when I'm doing brows, if I want to try to get a point, instead of going from the center out, sometimes I like to find my point and go backwards. Doesn't always, it just kind of depends on where you're at and what you're comfortable doing. But yeah, sometimes I go backwards. But it's usually good to go with the grain of the hair. But once I get to the actual point, I usually kind of pull that in. And then what I do is I go to the top of the brow where I want the brow to live. And I draw that in. Something that's also really important, if you're ever working on somebody else, be mindful of where you're anchoring. A lot of people, when they're doing makeup, you know, you're trying to you have to have a really steady hand, right? Because you want a very fine line or wherever you want makeup to be placed. Be careful of how you're anchoring. I like to anchor with my pinky finger. I usually do it right on the tip of the nose. So that way, if I need to go back in and fix something, I can fix it right there at the nose.
Denise, we have a question. Is that on the brow hair or underneath it?
Oh, she has, Dee has tattooed brows. So she does have brow hair there. So I'm kind of following the tattoo line that she has, but defining it a little bit further. So she does actually have hair there. So yes, there's hair right over
Okay, but would you follow, without the tattoo scenario, would you follow the hairline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, if you're doing just your regular makeup for stage, yeah, follow your brows. Just fill them in a little bit, give them a little bit more dark further away. Especially if you're blonde. And a lot of folks, please don't use black, don't use dark brown if you're blonde. They actually create these colors for multiple people. This one here, this light shade, these two are the ones that I would use for blonde. And sometimes they're like a grayish undertone, like an ash kind of color. These two are a little bit warmer. These two are the darker side. So if you have a darker ash, you can go with those. But I usually like to use these for blonde. But even if you're blonde, yes, you should probably go back in and define your brows. Okay, so I'm going back. So when I say top, I'm going to the top of the shape of the brows, what I'm trying to say. There we go. And since I'm working on the brow, I'm anchoring a little higher. And again, I'm using these short little strokes so that I can just kind of fill in. So once I've got the bottom done and the top, then I'm just going to go into the middle and make sure that the color is even across. And I'm actually going to pull this out just a little. So the ear brow is even a little bit. You can actually take a darker color. I'm probably going to go with the middle here. And you can go right around the arch to give that a little bit more definition. And you can pull that darker color out towards the tail of the brow. And that gives you just a little bit more depth rather than just having a block of color straight across. Now, if you need to tame your brows because maybe your brows are a little long or they're just a little unruly, you can use clear mascara and just brush it right on. You go with the grain. I usually start going by taking the mascara and going up and then pulling it out so that it goes down towards the tail. And that actually kind of like shapes the brow, gets the brow hairs to actually a little flatter. So that way they're not just all over. Unless you're looking for that look. When we do Shrek, I go backwards and actually puff up his brows and make them stand up in addition to drawing a few extra in. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. But if you're just doing your regular makeup, clear mascara is your jam. CoverGirl has one in the pink and green tubes. Use it. All right, so we've got, let's see, how are we doing on time? We only have like 7 minutes left on time. Let's see. To finish your basic makeup, now mind you, we haven't gone over and done anything about eyes and lashes and all that sort of thing. I think we'll probably conquer that in the next class, but this is your very basic look that you want to do for theater. I will tell you that in most cases, when you're working on a show, you're gonna want to use neutral colors. Unless your makeup or costume designer tells you, hey, I want you to have purple eyeshadow, don't use purple eyeshadow unless you're told to. Neutral colors, browns, creams, ivories. You can use a little bit of shimmer. Glitter is usually not something that people want you to use unless it calls for that character specifically. But this is the basic look that you're trying to achieve, whether you're male or female. Now, mind you,
a question from Peter. He asked about redheads, the colors for redheads.
Yeah, so in my book, I actually have this really great color. It's a really warm brown here. I love this color. It's kind of a coppery color. No shimmer. Don't use a shimmer for your eyebrows. I mean, again, unless your character calls for it. But this is a really beautiful, it's a rich, like warm fawn color. And that's the color that you could probably use if you've got really, really pigmented red hair. If you're on the scale, like in about a week or so, I'm gonna have some red in my hair, but it's not gonna be quite that bright. I would probably go with just a nice warm brown. That either one should do. But if you're on the light side, a coppery kind of color is really gonna be your
Thanks for that. I just wanna let you know we're about 5 minutes left in our session. This has been great, you guys, right? Oh my God. How amazing is this?
Awesome. So to finish your look and to get you ready to hit the stage, what we're going to do is we're going to use a product called Final Seal, and it's this little, I actually have a big bottle of it instead of the small bottle, but it comes, I put it into these little spray bottles. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to use this to seal in all the dry stuff. So we did the cream-based makeup, then we did the powder over the top of it, I did her eyebrows, and now we're going to set everything with this. It's a good idea to be prepared with a fan. So that way you can fan either yourself or somebody else because it's wet and you want to keep your eyes closed and you don't want to breathe it all in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Dee to hold her breath and then I'm going to apply it. Now, as a makeup artist, I have been known to accidentally say, hold your breath, do what I need to do, and then forget to tell her to start breathing. So I hold these days, I hold my breath with them so I remember to breathe and then tell them to breathe too. Okay, here we go. Take a deep breath and hold it. All right, you can breathe. And then what you do is just fan her off. Because this particular one, this is the Nye Final Seal. It has a minty scent to it. Almost everybody that works in theater goes, oh yeah, I remember that scent. It smells like theater. It has a minty scent to it. It's a little bit sticky on purpose because it's helping to adhere your makeup and keep it sealed. Be particularly careful to have them keep their eyes closed and to make sure that the area around the eyes are dry before we move forward. And I always tell my people to open their eyes slowly. Go ahead, open slowly. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So she's got her basic theater makeup on from start to finish. Again, next time we get into this, we can start talking about eyes and we can start talking about lashes and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. What's really important is that when you start, clean face, moisturize. When she goes to take all of this off, remove your makeup using a makeup remover. You can either use makeup wipes or you can use what the fabulous, we almost knocked over our set, Albolines, which is a moisturizing cleanser. You can get this at Rite Aid, CVS, anywhere. And it's basically this, it's kind of like like Pond's like night cream. This helps take stuff off. Just remember that after you remove your makeup, that's just removing your makeup. You need to wash your face after you remove your makeup. And then after you wash your face, what are we gonna do? Moisturize. That's right, moisturize. So that's it. Does anybody have any other questions?
Well, let's see. I'm going to check on everybody. If you have a question, put your hand up. Okay, I see over here. Well, it says psych, right? Go ahead.
Okay, I was just wondering if you could recommend a good moisturizer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Kiehl's is a great line for moisturizer. I'm a big fan. They have one that's called the Ultra Facial Moisturizer. Actually, I think I have it right here. It's fantastic. They have it in both a lotion and a cream. This one's the cream version. Let's see. Hold on. There you go. Is that helpful, I think? Yeah, something like that. So Kiehl's Ultra Facial Moisturizer. The other one that I really like is Embryolisse. And again, this one you can get, I think you can get this at, they can get it at Target these days. They may not have this particular one. This one's the Hydromat. The other one that they have is called the Lait Cream, L-A-I-T cream. That stuff is great. I go back and forth between both product lines. It just kind of depends on what I'm looking to do. This one is a little bit more matte, so folks that have more oily skin and you want to just kind of matte it out before you get started, this one's a great product.
Well, great. We're just down to our last minute. Denice, this has been fantastic, and thank you so much to our beautiful model for sitting there and having this done. Thank you so much. Oh gosh, it was so great. I learned a lot. I hope you all did too, and we will have Denice back.